Alright, in this section of the Bootcamp series, we're going to cover anti-tank guided missiles. This is a red dot rule, meaning that it is for modern games only, not for the World War II games. Now, anti-tank guided missiles are a slow firing weapon system that has a big backblast area, which makes them easy to see, easy to dodge, and as such, they have some special rules involved when you're using these weapon systems. Now, I've got some examples of units that use anti-tank guided missiles laid out here for you, a vehicle and a weapon team, and you can tell because they have a depletion number on them, which is that number underneath the morale on the weapon team and underneath the movement factor on the vehicle. We're going to touch on depletion and how it works here in just a second. Now, when you're firing these weapons, it is a two-step process, and the first step is to simply declare the target. At that point, you're going to stop and you're going to give the enemy a chance to take an op fire against the unit firing the missile with any of their units who can fire with their inherent firepower or a support weapon that uses the direct fire table. So if this vehicle were firing a anti-tank guided missile somewhere onto the map and this Russian unit could see them and fire on them, they could fire with their inherent firepower against them, and all they're trying to do is get them to perform a damage check. It doesn't matter what the result is of that damage check. If they cause a damage check against someone who's firing a missile during that op fire, then the missile's considered to have missed and there's no effect at that point and it's just over. Now, if the person firing the missile is not fired on by op fire, or the op fire does not cause a damage check, then you're going to continue on firing on the ordnance table as normal. Few things to keep in mind is that you can't fire these weapons from a building or a bunker, and also no unit can take and fire them using assault movement or assault fire, or as an opportunity fire after using assault movement. You also can't take and fire at infantry in the open, but you can fire at infantry that are in a building. So this vehicle could take and fire its missile at this Russian squad in this building, but they couldn't if they were out here in the open somewhere. Now, if they did, they would use the red HE value located above the ordnance table up to the top right if they were firing at infantry in a building or a bunker. Now, the big rule when it comes to ATGMs is the depletion value. Now, it's very easy to understand how this works. You're going to look at the depletion number on the counter, and just like all other ordnance weapons, you're going to roll a 2d6 to see if you hit. When you roll, you're going to be looking at the colored dice and comparing it to that number. If the colored dice is less than, not less than and equal to, less than the depletion number, at that point they would be marked with a expended counter and they would no longer be able to fire ATGMs for the rest of the scenario. All of your game modules are going to come with 2 dice, 1 white and 1 of whatever color, red, green, blue. You're always going to look at that colored dice and compare it to the depletion number to see if they run out of missiles during the scenario. Also keep in mind that ATGMs can only be fired once during a turn, so some vehicles do have superscripts denoting that certain weapons can be fired more than once during an impulse. This is never going to apply to ATGMs. You can only fire them once per turn.